In the summer of 2002, in a small town in Colorado, 5 young cycling enthusiasts stumbled upon unexpected warmth during a suburban biking adventure. Jack, Emily, Lucas, Samantha, and Tyler, a group of friends, had been riding all day and were now looking for a place to rest. As evening approached, they inadvertently entered what seemed like a quiet, ordinary household, a home belonging to a retired couple, George and Elma. Although surprised, the elderly couple warmly welcomed these unexpected guests. It had been a long time since they had guests in their home, so they were especially delighted to have the opportunity to host. Elma was busy preparing dinner in the kitchen, while George chatted with the youngsters in the living room. The room was filled with various old photos and memorabilia, creating a cozy and vintage ambience. Jack noticed an old piano in the corner of the room, covered in dust. Soon, Elma brought out a table full of hearty home-cooked meals, to everyone's surprise. After dinner, discovering there were no nearby hotels, the elderly couple invited the group to stay over at their home. The 5 young people were immensely grateful and accepted the offer. Night fell, and Jack and his friends chatted on a small hill next to the elderly couple's house. The starry sky was clear, and the air was filled with the scent of pine trees. They discussed their plans for the next day, while also marveling at the unexpected hospitality and warm atmosphere. However, as they were enjoying this tranquil moment, Jack suddenly noticed a hidden small pond behind the old couple's house. Since it was summer and the weather was hot, they decided to walk towards the pond. But as they went down, they found that the path to the pond seemed to be deliberately blocked by branches. Since it was getting dark, they didn't explore further and returned to the elderly couple's home to rest. Deep into the night, Jack looked out of the window in his room and could vaguely see the small pond. He was filled with curiosity but also felt a hint of unease. Jack lay in bed, unable to sleep. His thoughts kept returning to the small pond obscured by branches. Deciding to investigate, he quietly left the room, catching Samantha's attention, who decided to join his adventure. Under the cover of night, they silently crossed the grass towards the mysterious pond. The scene around the pond was somewhat eerie. Under the moonlight, the water shimmered with a silver glow, while the surrounding trees seemed like sentinels guarding a secret. They noticed a narrow path, seemingly deliberately concealed, leading to the pond. Following this path, they arrived at the pond's edge. Near the pond, they were surprised to find 3 children sitting on the rocks, looking as if they were waiting for something. This scene was particularly unsettling in the darkness. The children didn't notice Jack and Samantha's arrival, continuing to stare into the pond. Jack and Samantha exchanged a worried look. They realized these children might be lost or in need of help. Just as Jack was about to approach, he noticed that one of the children's eyes were completely black, devoid of any whites. This discovery filled them both with a deep sense of dread. They decided to return and tell the others, only to find that the children had suddenly disappeared. They looked at each other, filled with confusion and fear. They hurried back to the elderly couple's home and shared their discovery with the others. Everyone was shocked, and a deep curiosity and unease about the pond arose. The next morning, they asked George and Elma about the children and the pond during breakfast. The elderly couple seemed very surprised and insisted there were no children nearby. This answer did not alleviate the doubts in Jack and his friends' minds, but rather deepened their interest in the pond. They decided to visit the place again before leaving. Finally, George decided to share a story about the pond with them, a story laden with deep sorrow and secrets in the hearts of the elderly couple. On a morning filled with tense anticipation, George and Elma sat Jack and his friends down, ready to share a story they had kept buried in their hearts for many years. A deep sorrow and confusion were evident in the elderly couple's eyes. George began to speak, his voice low and hoarse. He revealed that about 20 years ago, their 3-year-old grandson mysteriously disappeared while playing near the small pond. It was a bright, sunny afternoon, and the family was enjoying the outdoors. Tragically, the grandson suddenly vanished. Frantic, the couple searched everywhere but couldn't find him. They suspected he might have fallen into the pond at the back. Heartbroken, George and Elma searched for a long time, even hiring a diver to explore underwater. The diver was tied with a rope around his waist, with instructions for those on shore to pull him up if he tugged on the rope. After taking a deep breath, he dived in. Shortly after, the shore team felt the signal and started pulling the rope. Initially, it was easy, but pulling became increasingly difficult. It took several people's utmost effort to finally haul the diver out. Once on shore, he ran to a platform, not daring to look back at the pond. Trembling and barely able to speak, he sat facing away from the pond, gasping for air. After a while, he shared that he was pulled down by a tremendous force and struggled fiercely to break free. Eventually, he said he couldn't help anymore. It was too eerie and left immediately. Since then, with no other options, George and Elma dug a hole in the small woods near the pond. They buried their grandson's favorite toys and clothes, marking the spot with a small tombstone to express their grief. Strangely, since that time, they claim to occasionally see apparitions resembling their grandson lingering around the pond. Even more unsettling, there have been several cases of children disappearing near the pond since that tragedy. Elma's voice quivered as she suggested these disappearances might be related to their grandson, perhaps his spirit-seeking playmates. Tears streamed down her face. Hearing this, Jack and his friends felt a chill, as every detail of the story seemed so real and terrifying. After telling their story, George explained that to prevent more tragedies, they erected barriers with branches and wood, blocking the path to the pond. They felt obligated to prevent similar incidents, and since then, no children have played near the pond.